Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real World Process Mining for HRSD and Approach. I'm Rue Adams. I'm going to lead this session with you. Couple things. One, this is a re-recording of a session that was delivered on June 5th, 2024. Unfortunately, the original session had some issues with the recording, and so I'm re-recording this. That will obviously not allow us to have anyone ask any questions this time. However, I will talk about one of the important questions that came up in the last session we did. Dan Grady and I delivered. So we'll talk about that. And the question that was asked there as part of this presentation. This presentation is not a demo of process mining. There are resources available on both the community and Now Learning that will take you through how to set up process mining, how to configure it, how to set up the roles, how to set up your first project, how to run your first project, how to analyze the data. We have a lot of information out there. There's the entire Academy series out on our community. Those resources will be shared later in this presentation with links and QR codes. So you'll be able to find that material. If you don't see it or forget about it here after this recording, feel free to just search for process mining on our community site, community.servicenow.com. And you'll find those materials. Lots of them. There's a whole use case series that talks about some of the various use cases. There are a lot of materials available out there around how to process mine. Now, what I'm talking about in this session is how to think about creating a program for ongoing process mining. Process mining is certainly valuable if you do it one time and you get some insights. Process mining is a lot more valuable if you do it one time and then do it again and do it again and then expand your scope and do it again. Because what you're going to find is where are all the efficiencies happening as I'm running through, in this case, HR cases. However, the same process, the same kind of programming, the same kind of roles would apply regardless of whether you're doing HRSD, ITSM, or CSM, right? If you're looking at IT incidents, you could have a very similar approach to what I'm describing here. If you're doing customer service management, again, the same processes, the same roles will work for customer service management as well. With that, we'll move to our disclaimer. I'm probably not going to talk too much about what might be upcoming in future versions. However, we do have to put out the safe harbor notice to say we will be talking about some things that may or may not come to pass. Please don't make buying decisions based on what may or may not happen in the future. Plans change, timing changes. However, if you're interested in process mining, buy the product as it is today. Like all of our other products, right? We continue to evolve that product and make it a better product for everyone involved. So now let's move on to this is a live on ServiceNow event, a recording of an event. And there's an entire set of live on ServiceNow events, regardless of whether you're interested in HR, IT, or any of our other products. There are likely live on ServiceNow webinars happening, maybe even as we speak, or as you're watching this, but certainly on a regular basis, there are events happening. All right, I'm Rue Adams. I'm the outbound product manager focused on process mining for HRSD. Dan Grady, my compatriot, who isn't with me today doing this re-recording, but was here for the original. He's the outbound product management director for process mining across the platform. So he looks out over all of our process mining across all of our products and SKUs. So Dan had some valuable contributions to make, particularly around what was the most important question. Again, we'll get to that here momentarily, and I'll call that out. But again, I'm Rue Adams. I'm focused on process mining for HRSD. I've been working with a number of our customers who are implementing process mining for HRSD. I probably will give a couple anonymous examples from these customers, just so you have some idea of where you might find value using process mining. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. I think this is the official slogan or official quote of process mining at ServiceNow, and it comes from Maya Angelou. This is exactly what process mining is about. Helping you know better so you can do better. And it's really, I think of process mining as the way we're going to get more value out of our ServiceNow implementation. So it's really a value optimization consideration when you do process mining. You're going to find some really interesting data when you do process mining. Some of it you may expect or have hypotheses around. Some of it may be a surprise. I know a lot of our customers are surprised by some of the process mining intelligence they're gaining from running the tool. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Okay, so when you're thinking about a process, right? There's the design path, right? Where do we want to go, or where do we expect people to go? How do we expect them to move through? And then there's the reality, and the reality rarely or doesn't always match what we've designed, and that can happen for various reasons. So that may simply be you need a faster way, a shortcut. It may be that there are unneeded steps. It may be that the person sort of directing you through the process doesn't understand the process that well themselves, any number of reasons. But the thing is, as you have a lot of variance in a process, you're no longer optimized, right? There's inconsistency. Maybe there's inconsistency in the results, inconsistency in the amount of time it takes. So you're going to find that with process mining, you're going to uncover a lot of opportunities to maybe streamline your processes, to make things more efficient. And again, we'll talk about those in more detail. Are you in touch with your reality? So yeah, processes have either been designed or they've evolved organically, but we all kind of have an idea of how we expect something to flow through step by step, right? I open a ticket for an HR case. That ticket gets routed or gets held maybe in a triage queue. Someone triages it, moves it to a work in progress, or assigns it to someone, moves it to work in progress. The case is worked. Maybe there's some back and forth between me as the person who opened the case and the agent who's working on that case. Maybe they have to suspend it because I need to go get information, and so on and so forth. So what you may end up finding is that what you thought was a simple case and a simple flow is far more complicated, right? And this may be for a number of reasons. Maybe I don't have the information I need when I open the case. Maybe the agent doesn't have the training or experience they need to work a particular case based on the HR service. Maybe it requires a tier 2 or tier 3 intervention, and so on. But eventually, hopefully, you'll get to the end and get to the case closed portion of that process. But now you can expose it. So I had an experience. Maybe one of my colleagues had a different experience, and maybe a third colleague had a third different experience. And so process mining will help you expose all of that. And then you can say, well, is there something we need either at the start or in the middle of this process to make us more efficient, to keep things moving along? And so process mining, again, this is the overview. I'm just trying to give you some ideas of what may or may not be happening. Is probably likely happening within your HR case processes. And so, this is where you're going to use process mining to uncover that information, that detail. Faster and precise decisions around creating intelligent process mining. So there's maybe the whiteboard of how we think it's working or how we might discover how it's working, and that could be post-it notes or writing on a whiteboard and having everyone who's involved in the process contributing what they know. But it really doesn't give us maybe all the variants and all the things that are actually happening. It's the things we think are happening or know are happening, and that could take weeks or months to uncover all of that. With the real-time in-platform process mining by ServiceNow, focused on ServiceNow events or ServiceNow cases, you're going to find much quicker often in terms of minutes, exactly what's happening with a particular case or a particular process. I like to say, maybe that's by HR service, maybe it's by assignment group, whatever is causing those variants, you're going to find those variants, and you can start filtering down, getting more and more detail and seeing maybe where things are either being reworked or reassigned or held up at some point in the process. And that's going to help you with several things, right? So obviously, if you can move things through quicker, you have a likelihood of reducing your cost. Maybe you're improving your quality, shortening your timelines, reducing your risk, and it's all fact-based, right? So this is process mining all comes from your tables. So you have your HR core case table. That's where we're pulling the data from. It's all log data. So you're going to get an accurate representation of what's happening. And whatever is in that table is data that you can use to create filters and breakdowns and really get deeper into the data. So you can find out, like, okay, maybe as one of my clients has experienced, the cases in Europe being run by our agents in Europe are taking twice as long in Europe as they are in the US. Um, then we also have experiences where maybe we're triaging something 3 or 4 times before it's getting to the right team. So another one of my customers spent has hundreds and hundreds of cases that are being triaged by 3 different teams. That's taking a week. They finally get it to the right team. That team now takes 2 weeks to actually do the resolution. So we're actually at about, for them, just one project exposed the fact that they had spent over 400 weeks in a year, person weeks, right? Work people hours, people weeks, um, spent 400 weeks a year just triaging one type of HR service. So these are the kinds of opportunities that you may expose, and then you realize, well, if I can save 400 person weeks by making that triage process much easier, that's a huge cost savings for my company. So traditional analytics tells us what's going on, right? So where are we at today? Maybe we're not hitting our SLAs. Maybe our employee satisfaction is going down. Maybe our tickets are taking way longer than we would expect on average to resolve. Um, Maybe things are getting routed and rerouted multiple times. So we can see what's going on using performance analytics or reporting, and that will help us know what, and then people are going to look and go, well, why, right? Why are the employee satisfaction numbers declining? Why is everything taking longer to resolve? Why are we missing our SLAs? Why are we having a spike in tickets? So that's traditional analytics. It tells you the what. It doesn't tell you the why. And process mining is, I'm going to quote Dan Grady on this. It's the why behind the KPI, right? So we see again here the traditional analytics, like, this is what we see. First call resolution is 47%. It seems fairly flat, but our mean time to resolution is trending upward. Our backlog is trending upward. Resolution, and this is an IT example, but our case resolution is trending down. Our number of tickets is trending down over time. Our backlog is increasing. It's like you start to see all this in a traditional analytics platform, but it doesn't tell you the why. And then you get to process mining, and you see, oh, well, we can tell you where the process is getting stuck, where there are reworks, where things are made, where cases are maybe getting closed or and then reopened because the resolution was not sufficient for the person who opened the case. Maybe we have unnecessary approvals inside a process. So we can start seeing all of these whys using process mining. And so there's this sort of a standard process, right? For any process mining, whether you're using ServiceNow process mining against against our tables, or whether you're using a manual way of finding out. The first thing you have to do is find those processes and where they're being missed, right? Again, it could be SLA notifications, could be performance analytics, exposing them on a dashboard, could be a report that you've manually created that you're running and starts to show you some numbers that are not what you've expected. So you're going to find those process anomalies. You're going to analyze them. What is the cause of this, right? Is there one team holding up the tickets? Are we triaging a particular HR service, 2, 3 times before we're getting it routed to the correct group to resolve it? So you're going to start finding the root causes. Then you've got to decide what to do with those, right? So maybe this is now a virtual agent conversation that you're going to create. Maybe you need to do some more training with your agents, so they know how to handle a certain HR service case type differently. Maybe you need to create more knowledge. Maybe you need to collect more data at the point where you're opening the case. So you're not going back and forth and back and forth between the agent and the employee who opened the case. So there are a number of ways you can start to improve. And then, of course, what I tell people is, wouldn't it be nice to know? And there is a way to compare the same process over two comparable periods of time, using process mining. And using that compare, you can start to say, well, here's my baseline, right? Here's what I discovered when I first ran this project. We did some improvement activities, and now we're running it again for the next month and maybe the next month, or we're running it every 2 weeks, or whatever your trend line is that you want to start monitoring. But you want to see over time that you're improving those KPIs, that you're reducing those case times, that you're reducing or eliminating unnecessary triage, that you're getting things assigned to the right group, quickly, and that they're working that case quickly. Maybe that you have comparable times to resolve cases between one assignment group and another assignment group. So using that sort of before and after analysis, having your own benchmarks. CIM, our continual improvement management application, is a very useful way to track the work that you've decided to do to improve your processes. But there are other ways. I mean, you can simply do it manually, but obviously, the more you can report out on your findings and the goodness you're finding using process mining, the better off you are, and the more sustainable process mining results will be for you. So my approach, or the approach I'm recommending, would be to start with a project, right? And this project can be in production. For most of you, you'll likely do it in sub-production, which is fine. You can start in sub-production. We'll talk about that here momentarily. But you want to start with a project. You want to make sure that the folks who are running the project have done the essentials training. You want to make sure they have the right roles assigned. You want to activate the plugin. You want to make sure you activate the content pack, and for HRSD, you'll want to have the HRSD content pack. The reason why is because when we get to step 5, you'll use finding definitions, likely as part of that content pack, to help you find opportunities within your data. You'll have to please clone a subset of your case data if you're working in subprod. Don't import it. If you import it, then you reset all the dates and timings around the cases themselves as they're recorded in the table. But if you clone them and you have the original open dates and the original resolve dates and so on, you'll end up with a good set of data that you can actually action against. You'll mine your first projects. You'll create a project and mine it. Again, there's an academy session on how to create a project, on how to analyze that project. And then obviously, once you have some of that, you're going to want to share it with your stakeholders and your peers to say, look, this is what we've discovered, right? We've discovered that one group is holding on to the cases longer than other groups are holding on to that case. Maybe there's something happening that we didn't expect. Things are getting stuck in an approval in one region, but are being approved quickly in another. So maybe that's an automation opportunity. Maybe certain case agents don't really understand how to work a case. In HR, you have to think about sort of tier one or a tier one plus kind of scenario. Like, do we have people who are moving from one country to another, and need work visas and need, help moving, their home from US to Ireland or Germany to India or wherever it is. So, there's a lot of things that happen in a case like that. Those cases typically take a long time. Maybe I just need to reset my password for the HCM system. And maybe that could be a knowledge article, but even if I opened a case about it, that's likely something that would be handled and closed very quickly, right? Within the same day of having that work assigned, likely, versus, a multi-day, multi-week process as part of an HR service. So, mind those first projects. You can use the existing finding definitions. You can create your own. There's another academy session on how to create finding definitions. It's really about your hypotheses or where you think there are opportunities to do better with your case management. So you'll be able to run that first project and see what our initial opportunities are. Well, again, the value, start a project, continue a program. The value of a project is great, but it's just, again, a point in time. It's a baseline. It doesn't really tell us how we're making progress over the longer term. So what you're going to want to do is actually establish a program, right? So my recommendation would be, now we've created one project. We should probably be running that project on a recurring basis. We should also be looking for other projects. And we should have a way of running those projects on a consistent, regular basis, a recurring basis. That may be creating a community of practice. It may be having process mining as a service. So maybe you have a core group of folks who are assigned the roles in the system, and they can actually run these projects on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis, whatever that cadence is, and help you sort of define, like, what are the opportunities? Is there an opportunity for automation, gathering more data at the front or at the start, more educational opportunities? So, there's a lot of sharing that you can do between, if you have process mining for IT and process mining for HR, maybe you have one team that serves both, or maybe you have two teams, one assigned to each one of those areas, and that they're sharing their best practices with each other, and you're helping each other find those opportunities, again, to become more efficient. You'll want to have your peers, your stakeholders, your sponsors all understand, why there's what the benefits are. You can often measure, if you do comparative side by side, we actually provide you with insight data on how much you've reduced, let's say, the cycle time. Maybe that European team that was taking twice as long is now, saving, a third of that time, right? Because of one thing that we've done as part of our improvement activities. You want to make sure that the whole process mining team is onboarded, and we didn't really talk about roles yet, but there are two sets of roles, right? There are the business roles. Maybe you have a process analyst who's part of the business. Maybe you have HR case managers, and you have HR case agents. You'll have a number of those business roles, people who are performing functions that impact in some way the process. You'll also have the system roles, right? The application roles. So we do have a process mining admin role, a process mining analyst role, process mining power users, and process mining readers. So those will be assigned roles within the ServiceNow system. You can find out more about those roles as part of the training available on Now Learning. And again, I'll have those resources available later. But I just want to talk about the roles, because you're going to have assigned roles for the system, and they're likely roles that you'll have as part of your sort of business organization. Those may not be dedicated roles, but someone's kind of performing those functions around the process itself for the business. You'll define your models. What is it you want to measure? What are you going after? How do those align to maybe your business KPIs that you're trying to support? And you can do some alignment there as well. Some of our recent academies talk about setting up KPIs, and there are some enhancements coming again around the performance analytics dashboards and how those tie into process mining. Again, that was sort of a safe harbor thing, but I've seen it. We've talked about it. We have some things planned that will actually make it easier to tie your process mining projects to your business KPIs. Again, analyzing and reviewing those findings, creating your baselines, and then doing it again on a recurring basis and comparing those results and seeing again how you're going to improve over time. And once you've sort of optimized maybe one singular process, you want to keep tracking it to make sure that you're staying optimized. You don't want to backslide or slip back into old habits. So you may want to continue just monitoring just to make sure over time that you're having those comparable results that you're expecting. You'll improve those processes. Again, could be training, structure, simplifying your steps, creating workflows, creating more automation, whatever it is. You have those improved processes, and then you want to again continue to report out on what we've done, what we're seeing, what our results are. And I would suggest that you're doing that for both the folks who are sponsoring, your sponsors, your stakeholders, and the people being impacted, right? So, hey, I would definitely tell the team in Europe, the assignment group in Europe, you've just saved a third of the time because of this new thing we're doing, and celebrate that, right? So you want them to feel like they're on this journey with us. They're an important part. If they're not doing the work as we're trying to optimize it, there's so much sharing. Maybe they actually become the role model for the rest of the teams. Maybe you start to see their results improve to a point where that they're the fastest assignment group resolving those cases. And we find out how did they do that? How do they go from being the slowest to the fastest? And then we share that with the other teams. So now everyone is getting better. So definitely sharing those results, making sure that everyone is seeing the amount of opportunity and the amount of improvement we're making. This is a much more complex slide compared to what I just showed, but I definitely wanted to show it because it ties some of those roles we're talking about, like the executive sponsor, the COE, process mining COE, the process owner, process analyst, the team leads, all the way down to the agents, honestly, how we might think about operationalizing the program at a much higher degree of detail. And so I want to share this with you. I try to simplify things, but this gives you a much deeper insight so you can go, look, I'm really understanding now how we're going to communicate, okay, we need to communicate, and then you can start to define how we're going to communicate our success, who's going to perform these tasks for us, who's going to mine the process mining projects. So again, this is just again a point of reference. This recording will be posted, and you'll have it to refer to. It'll be posted out on the community, and hopefully you'll maybe want to grab a quick screenshot of this before I move to the next slide. But it gives you a way of sort of understanding better where you're going and how you can use process mining as both a project for a one-off quick result to show some immediate value and then maintain that value over time. So here are some just some general numbers that we pulled together, part of our Now on Now, where ServiceNow is actually using our own products internally. We get some cases. We get some cases from our customers who share data with us, and we can start seeing what are the inefficiencies and where can we be better, right? So, 74% of HR cases are recategorized. Maybe it comes in as a general benefits inquiry, and it needs to be more specific, right? So maybe it has to do with my HSA, right? My health savings account, or comparable. Maybe, it comes in as a general benefits inquiry, but it's really about parental leave. And so, those cases, those HR services get recategorized. Sometimes that's done by the triage team. Sometimes we know sometimes things get assigned to a team and it really wasn't their case. Maybe, I've seen in my career a lot of things that came in as payroll, but are really about compensation, or, they come in as compensation and it's really about payroll. Maybe, a case comes in and it's got, it should be three separate cases for three different HR services. There are a lot of things that are happening. But that's a lot, right? Almost three-quarters of cases are getting recategorized. 60% of cases take longer than 6 days. And, unlike maybe IT, which tends to be more of a, service, hey, my laptop isn't connecting to the network, things like that. I need to change my password. I can't remember my password. I need to order a new laptop. Those are very transactional. Whereas HR often cases take longer. And I know, moving from one country to another country is going to take a lot longer than resetting a password. Maybe there's an employee relations case that requires investigation. Yeah, that's likely going to take longer than 6 days to resolve that. So, that may or may not be a bad thing, depending on HR service. But if you have some services that should take a day or a few days, and some services that should take weeks, and your services that should only take a few days are taking weeks, then that's a problem, right? If your longer services are taking longer than you expect, right? Maybe you'd expect it to take, a few weeks, and it's taking months. That's a problem. So, process mining can expose that and help you shorten those timelines against any particular HR service. Case resolution. So, if case resolution is delayed, if there's a lot of back and forth, like, hey, Rue, what's your social security number? Or do I have the right social security number? Hopefully. I don't want people scamming anyone. But do we have the right information for you, the right address? That, back and forth and back and forth. That's going to delay your cases. That's going to result in lower scores. If there's lack of clarity anywhere along this process, excuse me, that could delay your case and could result in a lower score, or maybe the employee who opened the case doesn't feel like their case was resolved. That's a lower score. Well, there's an impact, and the impact is, we could probably do things about 46% faster. This is a baseline from data we have, and we can be 34% more productive. This is huge, especially for your managers. So we want to make sure that they understand, what's going on and how we can get better. So this again, just some high level numbers using process mining. When you get to onboarding, wow, there's a lot that can happen with an onboarding service, right? So a lot of times it's a manual process. Things are getting sent around manually. One team has to finish. Someone then has to pick up the case and reassign it to another group. Maybe you have some external processes being run by vendors or other services, and you don't know what's happening with their data. You need to see, like, are they holding things up longer than they should? There is a way to import external data and compare it. So you process mine it and get some analytics from it, get some insight from it. So we have these capabilities that will allow us to maybe make an onboarding process much more efficient, at least 10% more efficient, right? So, even internally, right? If I have an employee onboarding and HR is running that onboarding service, and then I have to assign a task to IT. They're going to have to, supply a laptop or other devices to that employee. Maybe there's facilities, maybe security for facility access is involved. So now I've already got 4 teams involved. They all have their own processes. Those tasks are getting triggered, triaged internally with that group. They're running through their process. They have to close out their ticket before we can move our employee to the next step of the onboarding process. So again, what is 10% faster onboarding mean to you as a company? What does 10% more week one productivity mean to you as a company? And these are again just our baselines. Your baselines may be faster. Again, another opportunity using process mining. Yeah, so again, executive summary, sort of big picture, aggregate numbers, 24 years of time lost to approval bottlenecks, 7 years of waiting for work to start because you don't have the right staffing, 2 years of time lost due to process issues. Again, we're talking sometimes minutes, sometimes days, weeks, years, months and years, right? So, process mining is going to bring value over time. And that's really what we're looking for is where are the big opportunities where we can save maybe months or years of time. And actually the algorithm inside process mining will tell you as you look at those findings, hey, we've tied up, years of people hours into into this certain process. If we can make this more efficient, maybe we can get that down to months or weeks or days. And so, definitely there's a value to process mining above and beyond simply having all of your cases into a system where you can monitor, like how many times are we resolving an HR service case of this type or that type. ServiceNow has a lot of capabilities just in deploying HR service delivery, and there's a lot of benefit there. But once you've sort of set it up and you're running it, how do you make it better? And that's where process mining is going to make it better for you. With that, I wanted to talk about the process mining resources. Again, QR codes are available here. I'm going to leave the screen up for a bit so you can look and take your QR snapshots with it. Again, this will be recorded and put on session is being recorded and we put on community. On community, that's the first box on the left is our community process mining. We call it a product hub. The academy sessions, which are recorded sessions that kind of drill down into more of the how-to with process mining. Those academy sessions are available. The use cases that sort of tell you what other customers are doing with process mining or what opportunities they might have. There's the essentials training. And that essentials training is actually followed by an implementation training, both of them on Now Learning. And then you have your process mining overview. So if you've kind of jumped in on this, but you kind of want more just sort of basic background information about what process mining is, the box on the right with the overview will give you some more intro information. Maybe that's information you want to share with others in your company or in your organization, so that they understand what process mining is and what potential benefits there are from using process mining. Yeah, there are a couple of getting started resources. I just want to pull these up. There's the process mining implementation. So once you've done the introduction, you want to do the implementation so you understand how to configure and how to set up process mining, get started. And then, I always like the Academy series on top of that to really help you sort of understand like some of the core things like creating your own finding definitions, creating your first project and doing some of that work as well. And then we have the getting started with ServiceNow and process mining. There's a YouTube video for that, and that will get you very quickly to here are some of the basics of getting started. There's some additional value for HR, and I want to talk about this very quickly. When you're generating a project, process mining is honoring the access control list, the ACLs as we call them. So if I don't have access to details of a, let's say, an employee relations case, I can still run process mining to get sort of the core, like how long did this take, how many steps were involved, but I can't see the details, right? If I don't have that level of access, I can't see those details. I can tell you in aggregate what might be happening, or I can tell you what route something followed, depending on how you pronounce that. But I cannot tell you like, oh, it was this individual and it was this kind of a case and they didn't do X or Y, and maybe there's other details that I shouldn't know. I won't know them. Um, Scheduling recurring analysis, having like mining days or sprints around this and showing what they found, showing what you found and what you did to improve and what results, and then repeating that. That's an opportunity that will bring more value for HR. It will really show your leadership, what you could be doing better. Um, the third one, the better defining SLAs. So SLAs are interesting for HR. HR services are so variable, right? The amount of time it takes, the amount of complexity that's involved, from a very simple, go here and click this button kind of case, or fill in this information, submit the form kind of case, which should take, minutes to hours, maybe a couple days at most, to these like, I'm transferring my job from one country to another. I have this big employee relations investigation going on. We know those cases are very complicated and they're going to take longer. Some of my customers are saying, hey, we have a global 5-day SLA, or we have a global 3-day SLA, and we're not meeting it most of the time. Well, it's probably due to the complexity of the different HR services. And so when you're using process mining, you can better define SLAs appropriate to each HR service, right? You can at least start and say, well, the average time it takes to resolve a general benefits inquiry is 3 days. Okay, so maybe that's 3-day SLA. The average amount of time it takes to move an employee from one country to another country is a month and a half. So now you've got a 6-week SLA, but that gives you a better idea of where you should be concerned about breaching an SLA and where you're okay. And then, the last one that I've called out here is the performance analytics to discover new opportunities. So, or finding definitions to discover new opportunities. So maybe something will pop out from the finding definitions that you have in your content pack for HR. But maybe there are other things that, as you're just kind of looking at the data, you can start. There will be one of those like, hey, I just noticed this is happening. Let me drill in and find out more about that. And so the opportunities will present themselves. And I think, you start off, let's say, with one or two things that you're focused on, and you start to get those optimized. The good thing is you can then see what opportunity might be next, right? Where is there a bigger opportunity to move the needle, as we say, to make things more efficient. So just kind of continuing to maintain and grow your process mining activities to add more and more value. And then the last thing, I kind of have a note at the bottom here, which is those annual events, right? So we know in HR there are a number of annual events. There's open enrollment for benefits, usually on an annual basis. Maybe you do your yearly performance assessments on an annual basis. And so one of the things you can do with process mining is sort of look at those HR services at the point where they're performed, right? So if your open enrollment is October, November, mine that data this October, get your baseline, and then next October, when your next open enrollment happens, look again, right? See, like, have we made improvements? Are we starting to see the same thing year over year? This is a great way of uh, using process mining. So with that, we've talked about the roles. That was the big question that happened in the original session. The fact that there are sort of two types of roles, the business roles that you have. I'm a process owner, I'm a process analyst. I'm an agent working cases. And then you have those roles within the system, right? A process admin to help set up the configurations, a process analyst, power users. Those are the system roles that you have to have. So that was really the major question that happened in this session. If you have other questions, please, you can email Brand Center. No, you should email me. Email Rue Adams, rue.adams@servicenow.com, rew .adams@servicenow.com. I would be happy to answer your questions. You can certainly put questions in the community as well. If you're in the process mining product hub, you'll put questions there if you have more general questions, not specific to this presentation, but just more general about process mining itself. And we will definitely reach out to you, help you resolve and answer those questions. Again, there's a recurring academy session. Sign up for those, attend those sessions, and get connected there. And with that, I hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much.